Hi, so my name is Sue Salter and I'm here today with my third workshop for the Royal Voluntary Service, and all of those have been creative and this is no different. Today we're looking at tile painting and also how to paint onto a plate as well. So before we get started with technique, let's have a look at what materials we have. So we have a tablecloth. Always good to cover the table that you're working on, but today I'm actually using a craft mat, which I prefer, and I'm just very careful not to get paint on the table. We've got some plates here. We'll talk about how to choose the right plate in a moment. And then we've got two different sets of tiles. We've got the large 15 centimetres by 15 and the small 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres. And quite often if you go to a hardware store, you can find perhaps a box of tiles that one or two are broken, and so they're vastly reduced, and that's how I got these really cheaply. And then we've got some paint. So this is the Pebeo Vitrea 160, and it comes in a set of 6 small bottles of 20 millilitres each. And you can actually buy them in a bigger bottle, the same make, but they're far more expensive. So one bottle is £5 approximately, but you can get a set of 6 inks for approximately £12. And actually the Pebeo series, you can get different sets of colour as well. So I particularly wanted this set because it gives you the black, the white and the 3 primary colours, red, yellow and blue. But you can get sets that have the gold or the silver, perhaps a lime green or a bright pink. So have a little look out for those. And then I'm also using the Artistro paint pens. You get 12 markers in a set, and you get the lovely extra fine tip, so you can get some great details with those. Both the pens and the paint need to be baked in the oven once you apply to the surface, and that actually sets the colour, sets the paint onto the surface. So I think I baked my tiles at about 160, 180 for about an hour, but the details of those, the information is actually on the box. Okay, so I have a little tub of water here. Always have some kitchen roll or tissue, some scrap paper to sketch your ideas, brushes, which I'll talk about in a minute, a palette, this is just an old yogurt pot lid, and this is my craft mat obviously, pencils for sketching your ideas, and then I've got lots of different resources to inspire as well. So I've got some books, I've got some cards, which I absolutely love, and just off the internet I've printed off a few different pictures just to inspire. So there's lots available online and lots available of course in your library. I was really taken with the nativity scene, the Mary, Joseph and the Jesus picture that is so, you see so often on the Christmas cards, don't you? And I wanted to do something that replicated that. So I took a verse from the Bible and I put it around the glass paints with the pen. So I used the white pen from this set over the top of the glass paint. So that was using a combination of the two. So moving on to what we're going to do today, I was given a card, this beautiful card by a friend, a prickle of hedgehogs. And I just love the image here. I think this is actually a woodcut or a lino cut, but I wanted to try and replicate it onto my plate. So that's what we're going to attempt today. So to start off with, I took a plate. This is quite a flat bottomed plate, and it's a nice smooth surface. So I just wanted to compare it to one of these plates here, which again is a flat bottomed plate, but the edge is quite decorative, it's quite beveled. So if you wanted to do a design around the edge, that would obviously be more tricky to do. So be aware of the sort of plate you choose as well. So I've got a flat bottom plate and it's very smooth, it's very gradual. So I turned the plate upside down, first of all, on a scrap piece of paper, and I drew round the outside to get the size, and then I just very roughly measured with a tape measure from the flat bit up to the edge, and I just roughly drew the dotted line round so I knew where to fit my hedgehog. And then I drew onto the plate with a pencil, which is actually quite hard to do. You have to press on quite hard and go over it a few times, but it does work. You get a very, very faint line, so it just helps you to plan. And then I got my lid. I'm just going to put these brushes away because I'm not going to use those. And I started to mix my paints. Now, I wanted my hedgehog to be a few different sorts of browns. So you've got here a very dark brown, which I made using the red and the green. It's hard to see in this light. There we go. The red and the green makes a very, very dark brown. And then to make it a little bit redder or lighter, I used the yellow, added a bit more yellow and a little bit more red, and then I added the white to get this very, very light coloured brown. So the paints, the glass paints, are very transparent. So the first time you put the paint on the plate, it almost looks like there isn't any colour at all. So it's nice to build up the paint onto the surface by doing 2 or 3 layers of the paint. So let's just have a little chat about brushes before we get going. I've got 2 here that are round brushes, and these are soft bristled. So they are a synthetic hair, not an expensive sable or anything like that. This is from a company called Major Brushes, and you can buy them from any good art shop, or you can get them online. You can get a set of approximately 10 brushes of different sizes for under £20. So that's a really good cheap brush that I'd recommend. These 2 here are very, very hard bristled. You can see the difference. They're very, very hard, thick bristles, which are great for using if you're using acrylic or oil and you're getting the texture into the paint. But actually we don't want to do that with our glass paint, hence the soft bristles. And this is just to give you a picture of a brush that hasn't been looked after very well. You can see this one has got a lovely pointy tip, and this one has got no pointy tip at all. So this is really just fit for the bin, but it was a very, very cheap brush when I bought it. So I'm going to put my 2 hard bristles and my brush ready for the bin, and I'm just using these 2 brushes today. They're very, very soft, synthetic hair, but perfect for our glass paint. So I've done 2 layers of paint on our hedgehog. So I'm going to give it a 3rd layer, and then you can see I've done a green sort of wreath around the outside, which I'm going to expand on and add some colour to. I've been going through a series at the moment of tiles that I'm doing for friends. This is one example, and I just really love the different colours and textures around the outside, depicting berries and leaves and vines. It's very, very autumnal, isn't it, this time of the year? So that's one that I baked yesterday. I've got 2 or 3 more here that are ready to put the words inside that I haven't quite done yet. And just to show you as well, this feather here, I used the glass paint underneath and used the pens on top. So you can see that lovely, lovely detail. And of course, every feather is different because it's hand painted. And this idea just stemmed from a card that I was given last year. And I thought, that's really beautiful. And it gave me the idea. And then I found this little image online, which again brought great inspiration. Okay, so I'm going to give my hedgehog a 2nd layer. So I've mixed the red and the green to make this lovely dark brown. And I'm just going to add some more texture to his bristles. As I say, the paint is so transparent that it takes a couple of layers to get the lovely colour. Always make sure that your surface is really well washed and cleaned before you start. You don't want any dust on there or marks before you start with the paint. So that's giving it just a little bit more depth to the hedgehog, and I'm just going to add a little bit more black to his ears as well. So I've got my black paint here. Perfect. So I'm going to wash the brush and just make sure that it's wiped on the tissue. And then I'm going to think about the berries around the outside because I think it needs some colour. So I'm going to mix my yellow and red to get an orangey berry. And I'm just going to add that just with the tip of the brush. And that's why it's so nice having the pointy end to the brush. It gives you such a lovely definition. So I'm going to vary the colour as I go around. So I'm going to do a few orange. And you can just turn the plate as you go so that you're not brushing it with your hand. It's just need a little second surface there. Okay, so that's just brought a little colour to the edge. So I'm now going to go for a darker berry. So I'm going to mix the red and a little bit of the brown just to get the depth. Almost looks like a plum sort of colour, doesn't it? You see, that's much darker. So I'm doing this quite random really. I've not sort of measured out or sort of over planned where I'm going to put the colours. You might be somebody who likes to plan things a little bit more. That's absolutely fine. You can just pencil line where you want to put your different elements onto the plate. So I think that's quite nice. And then I'm just going to do some of these lovely curly, I've called them vines, this sort of swirly, curly green foliage. I think it just really brings something to it. So I'm just going to mix a very, very pale green. Bring a little bit of warmth into it. And I'm going to use the paint just slightly watered down. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility when you're painting the vines to get those twirly, swirly bits. And again, this is very unplanned. This is where you really, really do need that tip of the brush to be nice and pointy so that you can get the detail. So as I say, I work quite random. I don't mind being very unplanned, but you might want to do a little bit more drawing before you start to put your details onto the plate. Because the plate is white, of course, when you use the paint, you're getting a really pure colour, which I really like. Something the glass paint isn't great for is large areas of colour, because you get quite streaky results. I think I'll just do one more, and then I think I'll be happy with that. Let's do one more here. I hope the camera is able to pick up the details enough for you to be inspired. Okay, so I'm going to wash my brush. And that gives you a really lovely finish. I think just the colours of the berries just really add something to that plate, don't they? So then I would put that in the oven and bake it for about an hour on 180, and that would set the colours enough that I can wipe it with a hot soapy cloth. I wouldn't necessarily serve up my lasagna on there, but I can use that certainly for a biscuit, and it's a lovely gift for a friend, isn't it? So I think that's everything. I hope that this has encouraged you or inspired you to have a go at something new, something different. And if you do have a go, then do send your pictures to the Royal Voluntary Service. I'd love to see if you can come up with some new ideas as well. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and hope to see you again soon. Bye.